Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Tea and a Chit Chat. My name is Russell.
I am David.
And for those of you who don't know, well, probably a lot of you will know who he is, our guest today, but for those few who don't, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Jon Purkis. I have a YouTube channel called Actualol where I review board games and do other silly things, and I've been doing that for about 3 years.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No worries. So, obviously being a tea and a chit chat, the most important question, and this is kind of not the answer we were hoping for, but what are you doing?
Yeah, no,
today?
I just wanted to break the format. It's a stupid idea. So I'm drinking apple juice, just because I'm not a tea drinker. I don't drink hot drinks. It's a weird quirk of
hot drinks at all.
I'm sorry. It's
a
British faux pas. I am born and bred. Yeah.
Well, I have a friend like that, and we always take the piss out of him, but we won't take the piss out of you.
Well, you can.
Okay,
it's fine. Perfectly fine.
So obviously the other thing I want to mention obviously is we picked probably the worst day to actually film this. We've got lovely rain and thunder and lightning happening. So
I got some wet knees going on at the moment.
So if you hear some strange noises, that's probably that. Anyway, so obviously being all about board games and you make board game stuff for a living, board game content. What do you call your profession, would you say?
Oh, good question. I don't know really, because that's changed recently because I started working for the company behind Fog of Love, and so I think now I guess I would tell people. In fact, occasionally people ask me, so I was like in Richer Sounds buying something and the guy was like, oh, what do you do? I guess we were just waiting around. And I said I work for a board game company because it's easier than telling someone that you're a YouTuber. I think the questions are less awkward.
I guess so. I guess saying you're a YouTuber kind of invites a lot of other follow-up questions. Where if you just say you work for a board game company, either they're going to be like, oh, fantastic, I love board games, which one? Or they're going to be like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, but it wasn't ideal. The response was very much like, oh, they still make those. Like, that was his response.
Whoa! Did you then
so then I kind of did mention the videos, but no, I was kind of, I couldn't be bothered to completely try and win him over, but I was just like, yeah, it's there's loads of us. We make, and it makes quite a lot of money and it's a growing thing, but I didn't have any statistics there to like throw at him, and he didn't seem like he was going to be convinced. I just tend to, but yeah, so that's, I think what I would say is I work for a board game company. And then if they're intrigued by that, I might talk about the YouTube,
One question we're probably always going to ask people is how you got into games.
Yeah, so I used to play a bit as a kid, but all the kind of obvious stuff I wouldn't really say as a gamer. And then around sort of 13, I think, I don't know if I was to do the maths, but my friend had some German exchange students and they brought Catan over and he got obsessed with Catan. And we were playing like the German version, so I didn't know what any of the words meant. So to me, like, because I haven't really played Catan since as an adult, but everything's like, Entwicklung and all of these words that I don't know what that means, but so yeah, and I had fun with that, but I always felt that my friend was cheating because he would always win and he would always insist on like being the banker with the cards. We all kind of agreed that he was cheating. The banker. Exactly.
Can't trust him.
So I think I kind of died off a bit there because like he kind of soured me, and then I didn't really get back into them properly until 2012. One of my friend's dads actually been into board games since the 80s. We met up in London. We played Martin Wallace's London. We're in London. That was the game I picked. I didn't actually really like it, but I really loved kind of being around a table and playing games. And then my girlfriend got me Ticket to Ride for that Christmas, and then it's just like completely snowballed like really rapidly after that. Yeah.
So where from there does the decision go to be like, I'm going to make videos about this?
Yeah. Well, I guess that was like 2 or 3 years later, and I got really into it. Like I think the first year it was sort of slow. I had like 10 games, and then it suddenly went to like 150 games or something. Terrible decision making, and I had worked in TV at the time, and I was like writing comedy, and I was looking for something new, and I saw like the Dice Tower, but also Shut Up and Sit Down, and I thought, oh, I could maybe do that, but I could bring something extra to it, because of my like comedy background, and I put it off for about a year, the idea, and then I was just like, I was really desperate for something new, for like a new like, and so I just went for it.
It's funny that you
life.
Yeah, like I also used to work in TV production and stuff. Not obviously the writing side, but used to dabble in TV production. Yeah. And then I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah. I want to try something new. Obviously for us it's a bit different. Like we are definitely not as doing as much content as you and Shut Up and Sit Down. We really like your you know, your guys' stuff. But yeah, it's just funny how that has been the sort of mainstay in a lot of people's. I guess it makes sense, obviously. Oh,
TV is a brutal world as well. I totally understand anyone that wants to like step out of it. It seems so great from the outside, but yeah, no.
And when you said about Catan, because obviously that's like a big game for everybody, but everyone does peter off in my experience. Like you start playing it and then you peter off. Was it potentially because you had a bad experience with it?
I think, well, I must have played it like 10 or 15 times with my friend. I never had a copy myself. And yeah, it was just, I just felt that he was cheating or something. But so that was a big part of it. And then I have played it since, like, we're still great friends and he still loves it and he's still really good at it. So I played it probably about 4 or 5 years ago. And I think my girlfriend won and I was so delighted because somebody beat him and it didn't matter that it wasn't me. But yeah, I'm kind of, I like the trading aspect of it, but I also found that the more you got into it, you had to really stop trading certain things or with certain people, like, because you knew that, oh, if you give them corn then they're gonna and things like that. And then obviously you can have a bad game with the dice rolling. I think it's an okay game. I've just got like hundreds that I prefer, so
of course. I mean, like, actually talking of games, like one thing I've always been curious about, probably you and other sort of content creators or YouTube people or people who work for board game companies, like, how do you get your games? Do you still buy them, or are you getting to the point now where you getting sent some games as well?
I'm pretty much mostly getting sent them, which is I'm so grateful for. It was a case of, like, as I got bigger, companies would just start reaching out to me, and I think me and other UK people are kind of luckier because Estivium, or now Asmodee, in this country, they kind of control a huge section of the market, so they pretty much distribute everything, and they are quite generous in terms of offering up games to review, and it's not just the Asmodee ones, it's kind of all the other types. So when I first started, they would be very selective because I was a very small channel, and then as it's gone on, they're kind of like, they're a bit more relaxed with it. And so yeah, I'm incredibly lucky because I'm in contact with other YouTubers. I don't know if you know John Gets Games in America, and he's about the same size as me, but he has a much harder time getting review copies because, I don't know, because of the system in the US, how it works with different distribution companies, and so so I buy games occasionally, but for now I'm sort of quite lucky to get them.
That's mostly. So cool. I mean, we were talking about this, like, we've been doing this for a couple of years now, and you know, not done as much video stuff, but I guess kind of that's the sign of when you've made it, really, isn't it? When somebody's approaching you
have a game.
to get games. But do you feel like obliged to kind of cover them, or? Yeah,
I mean, it depends really. I think certainly when I started out, like, if I got a game, I was reviewing it like immediately, and that's always kind of been in the back of my mind. But as you get bigger, and I think you've just got to, like, approach these things up front. So now I'm in a position where I'm being offered more games that I could possibly review or even play. So obviously, most of them I just turn down, and I'm not. This makes me sound, right? But sometimes they're not so good. That's the thing. So some I just sort of turn down because it's like, I wouldn't be interested anyway. I only ever really accept games that sound good. I never just, like, take a game and then, like, so generally if it's sort of fantasy, I'm not that interested, and if it's a really long Euro game, I'm not that interested. And so yeah, more and more I have started to be upfront with people, like, and say, look, if I hate this game, I'm probably not going to review it because it's kind of a miserable time, unless I've got really something important to say. So if I hate a big game, like I did a fairly negative review of Mansions of Madness, I'm quite happy to do that because it's kind of it's a little bit of a public service, but I just feel like it's worth talking about. But if it's a small game and I hate that, it just, like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel as useful to the audience, and, like, but I mean, I suppose
it's really interesting how divisive it can be, because I know you were talking about Dixit, and how your fans are like, how dare you not like Dixit?
But that's the other thing. That's the other thing, is that you can really get turned off of doing negative reviews, and I've done them here and there, and I've definitely had some pushback for it, and certainly some games more than others, you just get ones with a really passionate audience. I think the heavier games, so Mansions of Madness, there were definitely a lot of people that hated me for that, but I didn't really mind because I felt like I'd really thought through my arguments, and I felt like it. But whereas other things, yeah, you don't get so much. But so I totally understand there are a lot of YouTubers out there that basically say I don't do negative reviews, or I won't, if I don't like it, I'm not going to review it, and I wouldn't really say that, but so to answer your original question, it's a case-by-case thing, but and it depends where the game's come from. Like if it's a small publisher, and sometimes I might reach out to them and I might be like, look, this game sounds awesome, I'd love to like cover it. Then I'm gonna cover it because like I feel bad that it's cost them more money than it costs like a bigger company, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So whereas if it's a company that sent me a few games, I might review like 2 and leave 1 kind of thing, depending on how I feel about them and stuff like that. Yeah.
So you obviously have a very impressive board game library, but I want to talk about your more impressive collection, which is your collection of wigs.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, how many have you got now? Where do you store them? Do they have their own shelves?
They're kind of hard to store, wigs. So they tend to just be in like a carrier bag under the bed. Yeah, and I've tried to sort of give them a different home. They don't have a proper home. How many wigs I have, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe like 10, maybe 8. I could probably remember them all, but
have you reviewed any wigs yet?
No, but some are a lot better than others. So when I started out, I just had a wig from we'd just been to like a fancy dress thing, and so it was just a blonde girl's wig, and it's really bad, and I've used that one ever since. But I think that's part of the appeal. It's really scratchy and it's so messy and horrible. And then that video kind of was like that was my 3rd video, and it kind of blew up, and so it was like, oh okay, people like wigs, which is a weird thing to take from that. But and so then I started like buying extra ones, and some, like my friend does a lot of like, he loves going on stag do's and dressing up like weird things, and so he had some wigs that he gave me. And so mostly they're like the really cheap and tatty like party shops like that you would wear on a stag do, but I got one wig that I got off Amazon, which is like, I think it's from Japan, and it's a proper nice one. Like it's a brunette like girl's wig, like quite long. It's just so much better quality than the others.
You sometimes just wear it just for fun.
I get a lot of good comments on those videos.
It's definitely a Patreon goal right there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's incredible, and I guess it's really nice because you've managed to carve way round what could be seen as quite a difficult thing of just being you as a solo content provider,
right,
by introducing all these characters that you now have, you know, and your kind of last game picture night. Sort of game night.
Yeah.
How many you've now got, and more, I guess.
Yeah. It's weird. It wasn't really something that I like envisioned, but then I just had that idea the first time. It was like, oh, I'll do a video about couples games, because that was at the time what I played a lot with my girlfriend, and I'll stick a girlfriend character in it. That could be fun. And then people kind of resonated with it. Oh, I had done a couple of characters before, but not with the wigs. And so yeah, it kind of went from there. And yeah, and then you just get new ideas for ones. And I suppose that comes from, yeah, like I used to write sitcoms, and so I used to like coming up with characters. Yeah. I never really envisioned, I never wanted to be an actor. Obviously I wouldn't class myself as an actor, but like I never wanted to really be on camera and do these things, but it was just a thing of like, well, nobody else is going to do it, so I have to do it. And so it took some like bravery at the start, and now I'm just kind of used to it, and like whatever, it's like something I do.
Board game child.
Yes, exactly.
Grows each time.
Yeah. I was going to say, did you ever ask your girlfriend to be in the videos?
Not really. I think it was kind of just like unspoken that she wouldn't really want to do it, and she would kind of be too shy for it. So no, I never really asked any of my friends either, but again, I just kind of, it was either that I knew they would be too busy, because I was mostly filming them during the day because of like my old work situation, and so nobody else was around, and then also I didn't really necessarily have friends that I thought would be any good or better than, I don't know. It was just, I did actually get one friend in. He played a dead body. That was in my second video, and he did a great job, and I think that's
hard to mess that role.
I mean, it's a good one too.
And I think that's it. I don't think I've ever had anyone. I kind of would like to do it, but it's just a lot of like, I kind of film videos at random times, or just like, it's like, oh, I'm doing it now. I don't want to book it like 2 weeks in advance, and so yeah.
So where did the ideas come from?
Oh God. I suppose they start with the games generally. So yeah, I was like, I've been playing a lot of couples games, and so originally I really tried to get a focus for certain videos and do a lot of research on a specific category, because those were the types of videos that I wanted to see. So for example, like I did a video on hidden movement games, and I tried to play every hidden movement game that there was, which is like really hard, and to get your friends to play all the same thing at the same time, I wouldn't recommend it. And but anyway, so then it comes from there. So I'm covering hidden movement games, and what's the subject matter around that, and so I threw in a detective character and Sherlock Holmes, and well, I would have had a killer, but for whatever reason I just threw back in my Timmy character, which is like the kid, and why not? So it tends to come from that. And then when I did specific videos, well, then that was kind of obvious. So Champions of Midgard, you play a Viking. And then these days, I suppose I just like having fun with it, or a lot of it comes from like the type of character I think I could do, because my range is minuscule. So I'm terrible at accents. And so there are many things that I would have just rejected because I can't do a good accent of it. But for example, lately I've been thinking about doing like a female YouTuber character. You know, like my girlfriend watches occasionally like these girls that do like makeup tutorials and things like that.
Yeah.
And they're all just like really bubbly and film in their bedroom and stuff. And so I might try that because it just sounds fun to me. Yeah. And then yeah, recently I've been doing like this rapper, like this kind of 15-year-old rapper, and that's just fun for me to like try and come up with like rubbish raps, like, so yeah, I just sort of, so now it's a little bit like, oh, I could do a character about that, and then where can I put it in? So I think the girl character, she'll be talking about kind of hot new games or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. I really
enjoyed your rap about how to sleeve your
thanks. Yeah, thanks very much.
Beautiful. And I guess that's another big attraction is the songs.
Right, yeah.
Big hits there when you listen to the album. That's what we're looking for.
Well, that's a weird one as well. It's just, I used to watch a lot of YouTube. I used to do this part-time job from home where I would just watch a lot of YouTube videos all the time. And I think I just got addicted to, so the first...
That's a job.
Yeah.
So I do that and I don't get paid for it.
No, I was doing it kind of whilst doing the job, yeah. So that bit I wasn't getting paid for. Thankfully I don't have the job anymore, so I can publicly admit this. And so at the time I got really into the Animaniacs song about the countries of the world. And so I was starting to learn the original one.
Do you know what's really frustrating? Sorry to interrupt. Yeah. It's really frustrating. They don't mention Wales in that song.
Oh. Do they not?
They do not. Go back and watch it. They don't mention it.
Wow.
I watched it.
That's heartbreaking because they have some really niche countries in there.
I know. I'm
devastated. Sorry.
Sorry, carry on.
Do they have Scotland, or do they just do UK as a whole?
I don't remember. I think they have the others. I know specifically they don't mention Wales, but I think England, potentially Scotland, and Ireland is in there. But it's just really harsh, you know? Then it can't be... It's not a complete song anymore.
Well, no. And the guy did an updated version, but obviously Wales was around for the original, so...
It was. Yeah, it was. I can vouch for that.
So I was watching that, and I looked up the lyrics, and I don't know, these are the bored things that you do, right? And then I got into it, and then I was like, ooh, I could do a board game song about it. And so then I set the challenge, and it took a while, because I kind of treated it like a mathematic sort of thing. So I took the original lyrics, and then I was breaking it down by syllables, like by tapping it on the desk and then typing the number of syllables by each thing. Yeah. And then I was like, and then I took my whole board game collection and then I worked them out by syllables, and then I was trying to match them up. And then of course they got a rhyme in certain places. So, because a lot of people ask me like, oh, is this your whole board game collection? It's like, no, in the video I think there's like 150 games, and at the time I maybe had like 300. You can't get all board game titles. Like there are, Spartacus, A Game of Blood and Sand, or whatever the thing is just not going to fit in a song. Like, be reasonable, people. Yeah. So,
that is absolutely impressive. Very.
But that was again, that was like I had a lot of time on my hands, so it was kind of. I probably would still do that today, but it might take a bit longer. And so that was it was fun. It was a fun little thing to do. And then filming it was crazy because I'd set this challenge that I was going to put them all in front of the camera. Yeah. And I had this weird idea that like I would just get some friends and they'd sort of throw them at me. No, like we spent an entire day, like from about 10 in the morning to 10 in the evening, we emptied out every single board game that was in the video. So we had empty boxes that we could just like throw around, and then it was just my girlfriend, because I didn't try and convince any friends to do it. And she was just on one side with these big stacks. We had to break it down into like segments, like every 10 games or something, and she would like throw them across, and we had to slow down the video so that I could actually do it in time, and I was like lip sync. Oh, it was fun, but it was like, she was not happy by the end of it.
It's just incredible.
I'm impressed. That is some dedication.
Oh yeah. It's like the fact you create an algorithm to work out best do this song, and then Pandemic Legacy obviously is beautiful. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, that one came out of. I used to play the guitar, but I hadn't done it in a while, and my girlfriend got me a new guitar for Christmas, and I don't know why I chose to start learning Justin Bieber. Don't tell anyone. But it was kind of relatively easy to play, and so I was just playing that. And then as I was sort of playing it one night, I was just like, wow, like, I don't know, it was all it was, because the lyrics are like, what, love yourself, and I just thought, oh, this could be like play with yourself, and then it just all just like really slotted in like really quickly, and I probably like wrote half of it in sort of like a few hours, and then actually trying to finish it took forever. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Is that that makes so much sense why you haven't done so many now. Work
time
goes into them, because to somebody who's just watching it, it's just like, oh, that's great, but they don't think about the scenes.
It's because again, like I really wanted to like make it funny. I didn't want to just like, you can take a song and like there was one I was thinking of the other day where it was just like, yeah, you could just slot in the word board games occasionally, and the rest of it kind of makes sense, because you're kind of maybe just going, I love board games, I love all the board games, something like that. And like, but no, I wanted to like really give it some meaning. So it originally started off about, I think, co-op games, and then it became Pandemic, and then it became Pandemic Legacy. And that was quite good, because then I was able to make specific jokes that people would get if they played the game and stuff. Yeah.
And some beautiful cameos as well.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Still up for it as well.
Yeah, that was, well, I mean, I think it was super, yeah, it was super nice. I'd actually met Matt Leacock, because I don't know if you remember, he came to the Museum of, when they had that exhibit before Essen,
You actually,
I was working on that a little bit as well.
Oh, right, cool. So, yeah.
The place to be. Yeah.
Okay. Did you get to chat with him? And
no, I did not come to that night, unfortunately. So I was there for when Shop Sit Down came to do their kind of talks.
Oh, okay,
James Wallace and all those sort of things. Yeah. We had a big day there. But unfortunately, I didn't get to make that one. I missed out on Matt Leacock. Yeah. Never forgiven myself.
He's a really sweet guy, and I think he was getting quite drunk on the free wine, which was really fun. And his wife was really cool as well. And I don't know that he really knew who I was at that point. He's very sort of, he's really nice, so I couldn't tell if he was just being nice or whether he'd actually sort of, and I'm not very good at like pushing myself out there. Oh yeah, that was it. I put Forbidden Island in like my Monopoly video, which I'd just released before. And so I think he'd like retweeted that, and so then I was like, yeah, I'm getting in there. And then Rob Davio, I think, had also liked my previous song, so that was kind of, and then Rado, I briefly met at Essen, and so I kind of knew that he watched my stuff. But I think the crucial thing with that was that it was super low effort on their part, because I was like, I don't care about the quality, and so Rob and Matt were just webcams, and it was just like literally all you've got to do is shake your head in front of the camera for like 10 seconds, nothing else. And so of course like they're okay to do that. Whereas I think, if you're trying to get them to do something really advanced, getting them to sing it or something, then maybe not.
Perfect.
There's it's funny, you were talking about all those guys, and it just reminded me that we've actually met. Well, actually, I've met them all as well. Matt Leacock I met at Essen. He was doing a launch for, I think it was when the Thunderbirds game came out. And it was only through my friend Ben, friend of Chits and Giggles, that actually was designed as a game and worked for the same company that produced the Thunderbirds game. I didn't even know who he was really at the time. That's the frustrating thing. And then Rob, we met at Essen. He really did a really good interview for us.
Awesome.
And took part in the board game knockout video that we did, which is kind of this thing where we pitted themes against each other.
I saw that. Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, he seems like a really nice guy. I haven't met him though,
he is really nice. Like, I'm sure if you go to Essen or any of the American cons or whatever where he's there, like just go up to him and say, he's such a nice guy. Like I literally felt like he's like a superhero or like a celebrity. I'd say a rock star of the board game community. But the reason I bring that up is not just to like brag. It was because actually they're all so approachable. Rado, we literally just grabbed him when he was just coming to see Gavin Birnbaum, who made one of the games that's one of our favourites, Jam Sumo.
Okay.
He just was there, like, saying hi to Gavin. We were like, hey, would you mind being in this video? And he was, and he's just so friendly.
Yeah,
like, everyone tends to be really nice in this
People
industry.
think that, I think, yeah, board games is, you know, video games obviously is a very different world, it seems. I've got a few friends who kind of, you know, try and do content about that, and it's so tough.
Yeah.
No one's up for doing anything for anyone.
Yeah.
Whereas board games is a beautiful thing because it comes from a place of sitting around a table with people. So I think built on the ideals of that, it's such an open world, isn't it? It's nice.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's another video that you did recently, which I obviously hope you don't mind me bringing.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
It's really, really cool that you're actually talking about this, and this is the one where you kind of went a bit quiet and stopped doing comedy videos. And I know it's probably like a very strange subject to bring in this conversation.
No, it's fine. Yeah, so it was a case of like last year around July. Yeah, I just started like I didn't really kind of talk about it so much in the video because the video I didn't put that much prep into, and then suddenly like everyone had watched it, and I was like, oh shit. But yeah, so I started experiencing anxiety, and I wouldn't say it was directly related to like making the channel, but I think it's like a big bunch of things that was to do with kind of my personal life and you know, my last sort of 10 years of my life, but that I think doing the YouTube channel had put extra pressure on, or just put me in a situation where I was working from home on my own, and kind of like, and it just wasn't very conducive to someone who maybe, you know, is prone to these kind of things. So yeah, it was, but it was also a case of the more you make these videos, you build up a relationship with this audience, and you feel like you want to be kind of regularly making things for them, and so there was an expectation that I would always do these videos with my characters in, and I was struggling to make any kind of video, and really the only it wasn't specifically like comedy and not comedy, it was just literally the comedy ones take more effort, so it wasn't like oh I couldn't laugh anymore, but it was just more like, oh, it's easier to make these other ones, so I'm just going to take the easy route. And so yeah, so I went completely quiet for about 2 months from July, and then I was really trying to turn things around and change things in my life. And so one of the reasons I started my Patreon that I do for my channel was to try and make things easier. And so, but then of course that added extra responsibility, because then I felt sort of like I owed these people something. And so I did make the occasional comedy thing, but generally things had got a bit quieter and things had changed. And so yeah, I just wanted to be honest about that. And it took me a while to kind of get to the point where I wanted to talk about it, but I'm really glad that I did. Yeah, so, and I think generally it's been like, the reaction's been insane. Like I was really sort of amazed. I was, like I said, I was just, it was a video that I made because I felt bad for my Patreon backers, and so it was a video targeted about 200 people, and yet like 10,000 people have watched it. I'm like, what? Like, that isn't the plan, but okay.
But I think it is important, obviously, and I imagine it'll be like a problem that will be more relevant as time goes on, because I think, you know, I have personal friends who suffer from anxiety, and I know what it's like, and nobody's talking about it. And the board game community, just like any other community out there, you know, it needs to be brought up, especially where there is, as you said, there's pressure on you to create stuff, and you know, you couldn't deal with that, doing that, you know, because of what you were going through. And the fact that you've like brought it out into the open, I've also seen other people talking about it now since that, so I think it's good. I think it's really good. And you know, congrats for being like one of the people to one of the big sort of personalities to actually talk about it.
Yeah, it's funny because I didn't think about it too much on that level, because again I was just thinking about my own problem, and then when people started to kind of share with me, and so yeah, I've heard from at least 10 different kind of YouTubers or podcasters, people that I've never heard from before, just kind of saying that they'd experienced similar stuff, and that I was really kind of resonating with them, like they were watching it and they were like, yes, like this has all happened to me, and which is sad, but I guess yeah, it's good that I could, like, they were kind of pleased that I could give a voice to it. And in terms of like the stigma around anxiety and talking about mental health and stuff, it's not something that I sort of feel as strongly, but I know for other people, and maybe more so in, like, I feel like if you're young and in London and my family are okay about it, I'm sort of in a nice bubble, but other people might be in, like, in some country or a place that isn't quite so open and like forgiving and things like that. And so yeah, if that helps, then great. Yeah, that's awesome.
Awesome. And you talk about Patreon. Obviously, that's a really cool thing that's happening nowadays, because obviously, not really being somebody who does. We don't make any money off YouTube. We don't even advertise on it. But I know that there have been issues with that YouTube platform, and so it's kind of nice that there's an alternative out there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, I mean, were you worried when you put it up, like that nobody was gonna like back you?
Oh yeah, and it wasn't a great time, as I described. Like, I was really freaking out about it. But yeah, absolutely. Like, I sort of, a couple of people beforehand had said, oh, you should do a Patreon. So I kind of figured those guys would come in, or otherwise they were really lying to me. But yeah, I was amazed. And it was like really quick as well. Like, it was sort of, the surge was in like the first few days or the first week. And I was expecting it to be a lot more like slower burn thing. Yeah, I was kind of blown away by it, and I'm so grateful. But yeah, I think it's useful in the board game world because, like you say, you basically can't make money off your YouTube adverts, and so I can't, and I make a small amount, and I consider that sort of useful, but it's like useful to, I don't even, like, it's just not enough money to do anything with, but it's just, like, I appreciate it, but it doesn't come close. It's not even like 1/100th of what you would need to make to kind of, to support yourself, And so, and I think, I mean, Tom Vasel says the same thing. Now, I imagine he makes a lot more ad money than I do, but he will say, that it's not enough to run the Dice Tower, and that's why he does the Kickstarter. And I think the trouble is just that, my biggest video, and I've only got one that comes close to that, is like sort of 100,000 views, and that is, whereas in like the video game world, you're getting into the millions, and that's when you can really start. And it's not just the millions once. You need like regular videos, and that's where you can make money off advertising. The board game world, it's a really tight-knit community, but it's relatively small, and so yeah, it just doesn't work off of advertising. And so it's amazing that I guess that the fans can see that, and like, because I don't expect it, but I appreciate it, and it's the reason that the Dice Tower, Shut Up and Sit Down, all these channels exist, and also can improve, because you can really, especially with the Dice Tower, you can really see where they've invested their money and things like that. And like,
I find that crazy. I remember back in the early days when I was checking like videos on board games and stuff, and watching the Dice Tower, and I'm talking like years ago when it was a bit low key and a bit like they have to produce so much stuff. It's just insane. Can you imagine having to produce that much content? But then they went through a shift, and it's all like almost like TV-esque now, in the sense that they've got these shows which they combine all these videos and stuff. But just realizing how big an operation that was kind of wild to discover that. And that's when I was like, man, it could be good to do some board game videos. But obviously you are still your one-man operation at the moment. But it would be cool, right?
I would love to,
what is the sort of dream? Where do you see it kind of moving, and what is the sort of future for Actualol?
I mean, it changes all the time, because like before I started working for Fog of Love, it was kind of like this desperate dream of like, I really want to make this and support myself. And now I've kind of a bit more relaxed about it, and I'm really excited about the opportunities of working with other people, not just because it takes workload off of me, but also because I'm not the best at doing there's so many little jobs in being a YouTuber, like, and so I like writing the videos, and I don't mind presenting them, but I don't think I'm the best. But in terms of like videography and editing and
I hate editing videos, by the way.
Well, yeah, me too.
The worst part.
Me too. Yeah, it's definitely the worst. So I would love to work with people, and it's something that I'm sort of slowly looking at. But I really want to be able to pay them, and so if I'm in a position where I can use that Patreon money to hire people to edit and things like that, that would be amazing. So I would love to. I think one thing that is kind of happening a bit on Instagram, but less so on YouTube, is really, I'd love to be able to focus on like beautiful like videography, and really kind of making like, because I've always made
films kind of thing,
a little bit, but just make everything look amazing. I've always done kind of I guess like good videos but not as often kind of thing. That's always been the thing, and so I would love to make them even better. So rather than necessarily releasing more regularly, it's about making like a video that looks really professional. And how I do that, I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, I've got a friend who actually works as a professional videographer. He's maybe going to be helping me out with like a future video, so we'll see how that goes, and maybe but that's the kind of thing. And then I mean, I'd love to have, if I could do less of the editing and things like that, then I can be doing more comedy. And so that's really, it's like so many ideas but not enough time and and hands and things, so yeah.
Another thing I wanted to ask you about, as someone who obviously has a lot of games, is do you have enough time to play them? Because I imagine, like, you know, the Dice Tower, for example, right? Tom personally does like a hell of a lot of reviews. And yet I question his authenticity a bit, because I'm like, how can you possibly play that many games? I know it's his life, but still, there must be like, you must have some of the same problems. Like,
I do, and I understand where you're coming from, and I've certainly had those thoughts myself. But then I can also see it from the other side of, you'd be surprised, like, if you're really committed, because I will often play like I'll play all day on Saturday, and then maybe I'll play like 3 or 4 nights that week. So, and in that time I could probably play, I don't know, like 10 games, 12 games, something like that. So
you play shorter ones?
Well, it tends to be because they're shorter. I tend to prefer shorter games, but even on, like, if I play on a Saturday, I might play for like 8 hours. So that's maths. That's like, you know, that's 4 big games maybe, something like that. So do I have enough time? Yeah, kind of, but then you feel like you've also not doing anything else in your life. So I really should probably like go to the gym occasionally, or like spend time with my girlfriend. And
you play games with her as well? Yeah,
but less so than perhaps I used to. It's nice to like, when I started out, I used to really rely on like my older friends who love games, but they just don't really play them that much, and then my girlfriend, and it would become a bit pressure because she's like, oh, I really need to play this to review it, you've got to play with me now. Whereas now I've just got like a group from going to London on board, and then I've made friends through there and stuff. I've just got a bunch of different people that are obsessed about board games like me, so they're ready to play when I'm ready to play, kind of thing. And so the pressure's off my girlfriend a bit. I still like to play certain games with her to kind of get her opinion and kind of experience it in that couple's context. But yeah, it's less often these days. So so I play with her maybe like once or twice a week, like a short game. But yeah, much more often I'm playing like with friends. And then she might join in with that, like with the lighter stuff, depending. So yeah, I think I need another hobby. I think that was another takeaway from kind of that video we were talking about, the anxiety thing, and just like, it's good not to get obsessed with this. And there have been times I've been obsessed, and a lot of people actually got in touch with me about, like, they had kind of almost been to therapists and things because of just creating an obsession out of board games and just like non-stop eat, sleep, breathe board games. And yeah, and I can see that happening. I wouldn't say it happens to me right now, but maybe it's slightly different because I sort of eat, sleep, breathe YouTube, or that's where it was. But yeah, it would be nice, I think, to take a bit of time off. But that's again why I appreciate doing really putting an effort into a video, but doing them less often, because then that video I might cover 1 to 5 games, but it's taken me a month to make it. Well, I've easily I can play 5 games enough to kind of review them in that time, kind of thing. I think it's about, I would really, if people are like thinking about making videos, that's something that I would really recommend. Is the Dice Tower have that thing covered. They have the whole play all the games and review all the games. Nobody's going to beat them because they've got like 4-man stuff or 5-man stuff, and they're also kind of good at it, and they've got all the equipment and their studio and stuff. So I think the way to stand out is by kind of putting a lot of love into kind of 1 or 2 things, and that's certainly how it worked for me. On the other side of it, it can be really heartbreaking when you put a week of work into something that nobody watches, and so so
that's just the risks of entering this whole video thing. Especially it's becoming more crowded now. And so I guess a good sort of final kind of couple of questions to ask you is if there are any, like, have you come close to the perfect game? Because
great question.
Yeah, just because I feel like there are thousands of board games. And you've played a lot of them.
Yeah.
Have you come close?
I don't think so. I mean, I tend to view games in different categories. So the perfect party game or the perfect co-op game. I still think there's loads of scope. You still see new things happening that you're like, oh wow, that's like exciting, and so I don't think so.
You know, you have this. So that's kind of funny because you have this actual love.
Yes.
Kind of award.
Yeah.
Do you think there's like a golden actual love that you've yet to award?
That's a good question. Not really. I didn't want to kind of get into the realms of like rankings and also two different badges. So for me, like in my mind, actual love is like an 8 out of 10 or above. You know, like I would never really say that because it does vary a little bit. But it's a game that I can like absolutely recommend to people, and because it kind of
stands out.
Is quite a good package. Like it tends to need to have a good presentation, although not always, but generally. And yeah, it's just got to be a load of fun. And it stands out to me. So it's a game that for now at least, all the games I actually love are like in my collection. They're definitely sticking around. So that's a criteria. And then it's a game that I would sort of actively recommend to people. There are definitely some games that have actual love that are like better than the other ones, and like you're saying, like there's definitely a higher tier, like the 9 out of 10s and the 10 out of 10s, and I suppose they're the ones that are like higher up on my top 10 list and things like that. But in terms of like awarding them stuff, or I suppose it's just like my favorite game. So I really love Dead of Winter. That is like, but it's not perfect for sure, and like there's a lot of people that don't like it and point out all these flaws to me, and I can totally understand them, but for me, the experience just overcomes those flaws.
One thing, I just talking about Dead of Winter, I was really disappointed when they introduced this really amazing crossroads kind of mechanic where like it relies on certain things happening in the game. I just haven't seen it since.
It's heartbreaking.
They had so much potential. I mean, I'm sure they're probably working on something, and they're just probably trying to find the right fit. That
is such a big disappointment for me, because that's one of my favorite things about the game, and it's just such a cool idea that like I don't know if everyone's just being nice and they're like not, you know, because like we can wait for Plaid Hat to put it in one of their games, but why can't someone else copy it? Like we copy deck building, we copy so many other things. All it is just a card with some like text or, you know, some story on it. I think it's I would love to see that in more stuff, and this War of Mine kind of has a bit like that. I mean, I actually maybe prefer the stuff in This War of Mine because it feels a bit more important sometimes, but, and obviously it's a book, it's not a card and stuff, and it doesn't have that like activate thing, but that they sort of like, they tweeted some image that they were like maybe playtesting something, but that, I swear that was like 6 months to a year ago.
It's hard to keep track of everything nowadays, but that for me just stuck out. It's like, man, what are they doing with that? They're sitting on that.
They need to be using that. And it could be in so many different types of games. Yeah.
Is there any game you're particularly looking forward to coming out? Obviously, we've got
UK Games Expo.
A little bit later. So, is there anything that you're like, I have my eye on that?
Well, a UK Games Expo, I mean, I just made a video. My 2 games there that I'm super excited about are Chronicles of Crime, which is the crime-solving thing with the VR headset. I love those types of crime-solving games, so that's just kind of a win-win thing. And then Holding on the Troubled Life of Billy Kerr, which is from Hub Games.
Just booked on.
You're just going to test it out.
Really, yeah.
So looking forward to that. I love everything they've done recently. A big fan of Blank and Untold and all those things. So it's a very different one for them, so I'm really excited to see what they do with it.
No, they're a really exciting company, I think. Like, I just love that they're trying different stuff. Like, and I kind of would like to see Untold taken in more directions, like maybe like, because it's got sort of a specific hero's journey or whatever, like maybe give us some other journeys and things like that, so that could be cool. Blank, I think, is just like really sweet and nice. It's not one I've played loads, but I can totally get, like, if you just wanted a few games in your collection, you could play that and just make it into this amazing amazing creation.
Class at schools, you can imagine.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Children in that game is a beautiful thing to behold. So it's been really, really nice. And I love that about that company, is that there is a very interesting creative spin on everything they do. And Billy Kerr looks a little bit different.
Yeah,
like
well,
it's kind of coming closer to a normal board game, but then there's all this other weird stuff going on in it.
Yeah, well, so that's the bit I'm excited. Well, just the subject matter, like, and that's. Yeah, I mean, I said in my video that I was just kind of comparing it to like Fog of Love and This War of Mine because I'm just super excited about games that are like tackling human topics in a way that like indie video games have been doing for ages and stuff that just makes you think and
it's gonna be good.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. You'll have to do a work for us. Anyway, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And chatting. Obviously, if you want to check out more of your stuff, you can check out Actualol on YouTube.
Yeah.
And do you have a particular Patreon link, or can they just search for it?
It's just patreon.com/actualol, so that's the word actual and then OL at the end. I never know whether to spell it all out. Some people get confused. Yeah, and if you've never seen my videos, I guess I would recommend like the video about never playing Monopoly again, the Pandemic Legacy song, and then maybe some of my like top 10s or mega reviews. Those are the ones that I really put like the love and the characters and the jokes into, yeah.
Perfect. Well, thanks very much for watching. Obviously, subscribe and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, see you in the next episode.
Thanks.
See ya.